Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty, but we're back. Maybe that's what I should do in the awkward 30 seconds when we first start. Maybe I should just lose connection instead of slurping coffee. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna... Isn't that cute? I don't know if that's gonna mess anything up. It says we're live. I think we're good. I'll wait a minute, see if anybody jumps on. See how that's going. If you're like me, you're having a crazy busy Monday. It has been a very, very crazy day for me. Busy Monday. But we're here. We're doing it. We're living it. We are doing our Monday morning Going Deeper live stream. So we just began a series in our church called The Stream That We're In. We're talking about our particular denomination, which is one among many very good denominations. And we're going to be talking about like our distinctives, what makes us different from other denominations, what's our focus, what's our heartbeat, what things are important to us, right? So, when you start talking about denominations, sometimes it can get a little tricky because particularly in this day and age, folks don't have a real pleasant response to that term, right? We're in a culture where people distrust institutions in general, right? And so when you start talking about denominations, that plays into it, and everybody's, some people who follow Jesus are like, hey, why do we have to have a denomination? Why can't I just follow Jesus? Why isn't that enough? But here's the truth of it. And I used to think the exact same way. And in a small way, I kind of still do. But I used to think the same way, though, for sure. In fact, I said yesterday that I came here to this Deeper Waters, what used to be Reevesville Free Methodist Church, when I was 17. And I did. But not too long after that, I went away for just a little bit of time, a few years, and then came back. And one of the things I did when I went away is that I helped to plant a non-denominational church. That's what I did. I helped to plant a non-denominational church. I was the worship leader and the youth pastor, just a young feller. And so the pastor and I and another leader, we began this church, and we had just, a small group of people. But it wasn't too long until there came a point where we were like, we need to lay out the foundational things that we believe. So people know that, and so that someone doesn't come in and teach something crazy, right? So we have to have that laid out. What do we believe? What's our core beliefs? And then it was like, and we also should probably lay out how we do things. How do we deal with conflict within the church? And, what does somebody have to do to become a pastor? What does it mean to be a pastor in this church? And things like that. And so we sat down and we started developing these documents. And it was man, we're kind of out here on our own, and, it would be good to be connected to somebody. And so we had a connection with the church up north, and, we sort of connected ourselves to them. And so now we have churches we're linked to, and we have a statement of faith, and we have the way that we do business and how we do things and handle, finances and things like that. Basically what we did is we became say it with me, denomination. We became like a denomination, because here's the truth. Whatever church, anytime there's a church, those things have to be in place, right? And there has to be some kind of structure and some kind of layout of what we believe. That's what we did. So I don't think denominations are quite as bad as the rap that they get, because every church is a part of one, whether it's non-denominational or not. But as you're looking around, the vast number of denominations in the world within Christianity, the one thing that makes a denomination a Christian denomination is that it shares the beliefs of Orthodox Christianity, right? The one thing that makes a denomination, as opposed to, say, a cult, is this shared core Orthodox beliefs, like the foundational beliefs of Christianity that are the core doctrines, what makes a Christian, right? Beliefs about who Jesus is, beliefs about doctrine of the Trinity, what it means to be saved, that you're saved by grace through faith, through the work of Jesus on the cross. Like those foundational things are what make a Christian church a Christian church. And then the other stuff, the outer stuff, the distinctives are what differentiates denominations. And like I said, I used to think, oh, denominations so terrible. But I think as I've looked at this and studied this over the years, I think sometimes God raises up denominations or movements or churches just to kind of bring correction to the broader church. Sometimes the church gets off course a little bit and needs some correction, and I think sometimes God just raises up a denomination or a movement to call the church back or to fill in gaps where they're needed, I don't know necessarily that when Paul in Corinthians is talking about us being one big body and all of us different parts, I don't necessarily think he's just talking about within a local church. I think he might be talking about the church as a whole, like worldwide. We're all one big church, but we all have different parts, and there's different movements and denominations that are raised up to fill in gaps or to pull people back to what's important. So what we're doing with our series is we're going to be talking about the 5 distinctions of our particular church, our particular denomination that really came into being 1800s. Why did God raise us up, and what is he calling us to do now? What are the 5 distinctives that are really the heartbeat behind who we are as a church? That's what we're going to be talking about. Yesterday was our introduction, and Steve tag team preached with me. I always like that. He did a really good job. And one of the things Steve talked about were the assumptions that he had coming into our church, right? You hear the name, you see, Free Methodist, you hear the word Methodist, and he's like, oh, everybody has assumptions about what that means. We always carry assumptions with us, right? We carry assumptions because of experiences that we've had, churches we've been to, people we've talked to, right? You build assumptions. And so Steve talked a little bit about his assumptions, what he assumed he would encounter when he came into our church and our denomination. And then he talked about how a lot of those assumptions were pleasantly challenged. They were pleasantly wrong, and he didn't encounter what he thought he would encounter. And so this week, as we're beginning this series, I want to ask you guys who are part of our Deeper Waters family, if you're part of our church, I want to ask you to ponder that same thing. I want you to think about those same questions. I got 3 questions I want you to think about this week. And if you would be so kind as to comment below, that would be awesome too. Just so I can see, so others can see, we can share our experiences together. So my 3 questions for my Deeper Waters family is this. Number 1, if you can think back that far, depends on how old you are and when you started coming, what were your assumptions when you walked through the door of this church for the first time? Like when you were first walking up those steps, got on the front porch, you're looking at the door, you reach for the door handle, you turn that thing for the first time and you're about to walk in. What were some of your assumptions about what your experience would be? That's one question. The second question is this. Was that experience, or is that experience, if you're still around here, what you assumed it would be? Were your assumptions right? Were your assumptions wrong? Did you experience what you thought, or did you experience something different? Okay? And then the third thing is this. if you've been here a while and God has been ministering to your heart and you're getting involved and things like that, and you've kind of become part of our family or are becoming part of our family, this is the last question. And it'll be easier for some to answer than others, especially those who have been here longer. But just as you can gauge it, what do you think are the distinctives and core values of our church that drive us to do what we do and be who we are? Everybody, every church, every organization, every person has a set of core beliefs that drive what they do and how they respond and how they live, how they interact with people. What do you think are some of the core values of our church that cause us to be and do what we do and be who we are? So 3 questions. What were your assumptions when you first came in? I want you to think about that this week. Was your experience what you assumed? Was it different? Was it the same? Were your assumptions challenged? Were you blown away? Were you like, wow, this is not what I expected? Were your assumptions correct? And number 3, what do you think are the distinctives and core values of our church that cause us and drive us to be who we are and do what we do? All right, so that's your assignment, Deeper Waters family. You guys think on that, ponder on that. I would love to see your responses. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys have the best day ever. And hey, we'll see you when we see you. Love you guys. See you around. Have a great week. Good morning, Frankie. Goodbye, Frankie. Hey, go back and rewatch it if you just came on, Frankie. All right, love you guys. See ya.